What if the most powerful law enforcement official in America just admitted, under oath, that he hasn't even reviewed the full case file in the biggest trafficking investigation the FBI has ever handled? That's exactly what happened when Eric Swalwell sat across from Kash Patel and started asking the kind of simple questions that should have had simple answers. But instead of clarity, viewers got evasions, contradictions, and one of the most uncomfortable exchanges Congress has seen in months. And by the end of it, the bigger story wasn't just what Patel said.
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety of the files, so
You haven't reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all the files.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history in historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked and the number of pedophiles.
It sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political innuendo so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article.
Director,
keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
If the president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding child pedophiles is disgusting. Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment, because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco need it.
Director, remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the Attorney's file.
It's a simple question. Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple.
Did
you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No, A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your constituency by focusing on reducing violent crime in this country and the number of pedophiles that are illegally harbored in your sanctuary cities in California? I'll work with you on that.
Regular order, Mr. Chairman.
I
belong to the gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The question has been asked and answered.
You have not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt. Director, did Donald Trump ever say to you, just find and release the entire truth? Don't worry if I'm in it?
The instructions from the administration were to release all credible information, and we have done that.
Did Donald Trump ever provide information about Jeffrey Epstein as an informant?
Donald Trump has not been, and I can only speak for the FBI, an informant of the FBI.
So, Director, you've played this cute shell game where you say you can't release everything because the court has said that it legally is not allowed to be released. But the court calls bullshit. Judge Richard Berman said that when you went to the court, quote, information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts pales in comparison to Epstein investigation information and materials in the hands of the Department of Justice. So let's move on, Director. You wrote a book called Government Gangsters. You identified 20 individuals in that book. You put me on that list, at the top of the list. Thank you. My children find it flattering. 20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the
because
question
they failed
again,
to meet the muster in their
Director,
constitutional
I will
obligation.
work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm going to borrow your terminology and call bullshit on your entire career in Congress.
Reclaiming my time,
It has been a disgrace to the American
Director,
people.
I'm reclaiming my time.
You can reclaim your time all you want.
Mr.
Chairman, you're going to allow a witness to
California.
speak this way? Mr. Chairman, would you give...
Recuse yourself, Director.
The gentleman has no time to...
Mr. Chairman, would you
Mr.
admonish the
Chairman,
witness not to insult members?
The gentleman has no time.
Mr. Chairman,
The
just
committee will remember.
quick point of order. Could the gentleman be extended an additional 20 seconds to complete his thoughts since the witness decided to interrupt him continuously?
And the witness will be able to respond if he wants. We'll make sure he
Thank
has
you.
time to do that.
My question is,
Continue.
will you, Director, recuse yourself, yes or no, from investigating or making decisions about the 60 individuals, including myself, that you identified as government gangsters? Yes or no?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may respond if he would like.
And the answer was no, as I heard.
Correct.
Okay. The gentleman...
It was what he seemed determined not to say. The hearing began like so many others, tense, political, and full of rehearsed talking points. But Swalwell came in with a different approach. He didn't start with a long speech or grandstanding setup. He went straight to the issue that has been hanging over Washington for months, the Epstein files. For years, the public has demanded answers about what's in them, who knew what, and why so much still remains hidden. And with Kash Patel now running the FBI, Swalwell clearly believed there was no more room for excuses. He wanted specifics. He wanted accountability. And he wanted to know whether the man in charge had actually done the work. That's when the first stunning moment happened. Swalwell asked Patel directly whether he had personally reviewed the entirety of the Epstein files. Patel's answer was short, but it landed like a bomb. No, he had not reviewed all of them. Just let that sink in. The sitting FBI director, overseeing the bureau that handled one of the most notorious trafficking cases in modern American history, admitted in front of Congress that he has not personally read through the full case materials. The room shifted immediately. You could feel the tension rise because this wasn't some side issue or minor paperwork oversight. This was the central question. If the person at the top hasn't fully reviewed the file, then who exactly is making the decisions about what the public gets to know? Swalwell wasted no time pressing the point. He reminded Patel that this wasn't just any criminal matter. This was Jeffrey Epstein, a case involving trafficking, elite connections, sealed evidence, and years of unanswered questions. The expectation from the public has always been that the FBI would treat this case with the highest level of seriousness. Yet Patel's answer gave the impression that even now, years later, the Bureau's top official still hadn't made it his priority to see the full picture. Patel tried to pivot quickly. He said he had been busy making the country safer, reducing violent crime, tackling trafficking, and redeploying resources. But for many watching, that answer only made the moment more jarring. Because to critics, this wasn't an acceptable explanation. This was the very kind of case where leadership is supposed to know every critical detail. And that was only the beginning. Once Patel admitted he hadn't read everything, Swalwell saw the opening. He shifted to the next issue, Donald Trump's name in the files. It's a question that has fueled endless speculation online and across cable news. Not because a name alone proves wrongdoing. It doesn't. But because the public has demanded transparency about who appears in the records and in what context. Swalwell knew that if Patel had partial knowledge of the files, then Patel's certainty on what should or shouldn't be disclosed could be challenged. So he started narrowing the frame. First, Swalwell asked whether Patel knew how many times Trump's name appeared in the files. Patel said he did not know the number. That answer should have been simple enough. But then Swalwell began pressing the logic. If Patel didn't know the number, how could he be so confident in brushing off the concern? Could it be 1,000 times? Patel said no. Could it be 500? No again. 100? Still no. But here's what made the exchange so striking. Patel was simultaneously saying he didn't know the number and confidently ruling out the higher figures. That contradiction instantly became the heart of the moment. For viewers, it was impossible not to notice the tension in Patel's responses. On one hand, He insisted he didn't know the exact count because he hadn't reviewed everything. On the other hand, he was clearly trying to minimize the issue without giving a direct factual basis. Swalwell seized on that contradiction and kept tightening the screws. He argued that if Patel truly didn't know the number, then maybe it was his job to know. That line hit hard because it wasn't just a political jab. It was a direct challenge to Patel's competence and credibility as FBI director. Patel's response was telling. Rather than directly address why he didn't know, he lashed out at Swalwell. He accused him of political theater and trying to score headlines. He framed himself as someone focused on real crime while politicians played games. It was classic deflection, but it also revealed something deeper about the tone of the hearing. Patel seemed increasingly frustrated, and the more pressure Swalwell applied, the more personal Patel's answers became. That shift mattered because viewers often judge these moments less by policy details and more by demeanor. And in this exchange, Patel looked rattled. Then came the question that turned the hearing from tense to explosive. Swalwell asked Patel whether he had ever told the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name appeared in the Epstein files. It was a yes or no question. Clean, direct, impossible to misunderstand. But instead of answering, Patel began circling. He said he and the Attorney General had discussed the files broadly. He referenced reviews. He mentioned processes. Everything except the one thing Swalwell asked. That's when the moment went viral. Swalwell leaned in and repeated the question. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no? Patel still refused to answer directly. So Swalwell sharpened the line in a way that instantly cut through the noise. Use the alphabet. Yes or no? It was one of those hearing moments that people replay because it captures the entire dynamic in a few words. A congressman demanding a simple answer. A witness refusing to give one. And the public left to fill in the silence. Patel still didn't answer cleanly. Instead, he pivoted into an attack on California, crime, and sanctuary cities. He accused Swalwell of failing his constituents. He tried to turn the hearing into a broader ideological fight. But that only reinforced the perception that he was dodging. Because if the answer was truly simple, why not just say it? Why move to attacks? Why change the subject? That's the question millions of viewers were asking after the clip spread. To be clear, appearing in files or being mentioned in records does not automatically imply guilt or wrongdoing. Context matters. Evidence matters. Facts matter. But that's exactly why transparency matters too. The public frustration here wasn't rooted in proof of something specific. It was rooted in the sense that key officials were still treating the entire matter like a political landmine instead of a public trust issue. And Patel's refusal to give a straightforward answer only added fuel to that perception. But Swalwell wasn't done. He pivoted again, and this is where the hearing became even more personal. He brought up Patel's own book, Government Gangsters, where Patel had publicly named people he viewed as enemies or examples of institutional abuse. Swalwell pointed out that he himself was on Patel's list. He then raised a serious question. If Patel had publicly targeted dozens of political figures in a best-selling book, how could he objectively oversee investigations involving those same people? This was no longer just about Epstein or transparency. This was about whether the FBI director could separate personal grievances from institutional power. Swalwell asked Patel directly whether he would recuse himself from making investigative decisions involving the people he had publicly attacked. Again, it was a simple question. Again, Patel refused to give a clean answer. Instead, Patel snapped. He insulted Swalwell's congressional career, calling it a disgrace to the American people. The exchange quickly spiraled. Swalwell objected to the tone. Other members tried to restore order. The chair struggled to contain the moment. But by then, the damage was done. The hearing had shifted from a debate over records to a public display of hostility between a top law enforcement official and an elected member of Congress. That moment mattered for another reason too. It showed how fragile trust in institutions has become. The FBI director is supposed to project steadiness, professionalism, and confidence under pressure. Even when attacked politically, the expectation is composure. But in this exchange, Patel appeared more like a political combatant than a neutral law enforcement leader. Whether fair or not, that perception matters because public trust in the Bureau depends heavily on the conduct of the person running it. And then, as if the hearing itself hadn't already raised enough questions, Donald Trump's own comments about the Epstein files resurfaced and added another layer to the controversy. Trump argued publicly that releasing photos and materials could unfairly damage innocent people who had once crossed paths with Epstein socially. He said reputations could be ruined by contextless images or associations. He also framed the renewed focus on Epstein as a distraction from broader policy wins. That argument resonated with some supporters who believe the matter has become overly politicized. But for others, it raised even more questions. If transparency is the goal, why emphasize the risks of release more than the need for clarity? Why focus on political motives instead of directly supporting full disclosure where legally possible? Trump's remarks didn't settle anything. If anything, they highlighted just how unresolved the issue remains. That's what made this hearing so significant. It wasn't just about one viral exchange or one congressman landing a sharp line. It exposed a broader problem: the gap between public demand for transparency and the government's instinct to protect itself. People have spent years hearing promises about full accountability in the Epstein matter. Yet here we are, still watching top officials dodge basic questions, still debating what's been reviewed, and still hearing more about politics than facts. For Swalwell, the hearing achieved something important. He forced Patel into public admissions that raised legitimate concerns. Patel acknowledged he had not fully reviewed the files. He gave contradictory signals about Trump's mentions in the records. He refused to directly answer whether he informed the Attorney General about Trump's name. And he declined to commit to recusal in cases involving his political critics. Even without definitive revelations, those moments created headlines because they revealed something about process, posture, and priorities. For Patel, the hearing was a warning sign. Running the FBI is different from making media appearances or writing books. Every answer is scrutinized. Every omission carries weight. And every emotional outburst risks undermining the very authority the office depends on. Whether Patel believes he handled the hearing well or not, the public takeaway was clear. When pushed on the toughest questions, he looked far less in control than many expected. And for the public, this hearing left behind the same question that has haunted the Epstein case from the start. What else still hasn't been fully explained? That question lingers not because of internet rumors or political tribalism, but because transparency delayed is trust denied. The longer key details remain clouded by partial answers, the more suspicion grows. And once public confidence starts slipping, it becomes very hard to win back. Maybe the biggest lesson from this hearing is that silence can be louder than any statement. Sometimes, the answers people avoid tell you more than the words they choose. Kash Patel came into that hearing expecting to defend his record. Instead, he left with millions of viewers replaying the moments where he wouldn't simply say yes or no. And that's why this exchange is going to stick. Not because it proved every allegation people online are debating. It didn't. But because it reminded everyone watching that power hates uncomfortable questions, especially when those questions are simple. So what do you think? Was Patel unfairly targeted in a political spectacle, or did Swalwell expose real concerns that deserve more scrutiny? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is far from over. And if you want more sharp breakdowns of the biggest political showdowns, hidden hearing moments, and the stories mainstream headlines miss, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.